right, here we are, we found it. Maybe it worked. I'm gonna do a little bit heavier on the paint. I still want the wood grain to show through. Hey everybody, welcome back to Furniture Flipping Teacher. We are here at our storage unit. I gotta choose my piece of furniture for the week. No, the Barbie piece hasn't sold. Don't wanna talk about it. But we need to move it out of the way. The piece that I do want is back here. This is our most organized storage unit. It's completely full of mostly chairs, but there is a lot of other furniture as well. You guys chose on Instagram between two different pieces of furniture, and we're going with this guy. All right, now that we've picked a piece, it's time to go grab our paint. Thank you so much to Up Paint for sponsoring this video. This is a new paint to me and it's sold at Michael's, so we're gonna go choose a color. So much like our furniture projects where we take old and outdated furniture and give it a new life, recycle it, that is the mission behind Up Paint as well. They take recycled paint and turn it into a product that we can use. It actually contains 75% of recycled content. So the biggest question that I have about Up Paint: is it quality? Is it durable? Will it hold up? Can you take recycled content and make it into a quality product? We're gonna be testing that later in this video. All right, here we are, we found it. This is their chalk paint line. They've also got Venetian plaster and metallic paint, but we're gonna stick with the chalk paint for our furniture flip. They've got 5 colors: ivory, fountain mist, gray beige or greige, green escape, deep anchor, and so I've got to choose which one. There's only 5 to choose from. It's kind of hard. I think I'm gonna go with the fountain, oh sorry, not fountain mist, fountain head. Here it is. So it comes in a 16-ounce jar, and then we're also gonna grab a chalk brush right there. Then let's grab a roller and some roller heads here, just in case we want to roll it on instead. Oh, they even have brush cleaner. Definitely gonna grab that. And then they have some salve. They've got leather, and then they've got a lemon. I'm definitely more of a citrus smell girl, so I'm gonna grab some lemon. Maybe we can freshen up the drawers once we're finished painting. I think we've got all we need. Let's go check out. So I found this piece on Facebook Marketplace for just $60, but I went ahead and paid the person who was selling it $20 extra so that they would deliver it straight to our house. Sometimes it's just nice to have it delivered and not have to go and pick something up. So we're all in at $80 for this piece of furniture. And then after spending around $80 in supplies with the Up Paint at Michael's, we're in around $160, which really isn't that bad of an upfront cost for a piece like this. And now that we've got all of the hardware removed, I am gonna take my simple green and give it a nice clean. Okay, so I figured out a way to kind of fix this side and bottom of this drawer so that it can slide nicely. I'm at least hoping it works. This is my first time ever like trying to figure something like this out, but I think it'll work. So I had on hand like an 8-foot 1-inch board, and I ended up slicing it with a like an X-Acto knife or a box cutter because it's too dangerous to cut that small of an amount off with a saw. So I just kind of scored it and just kind of kept going until it cut in half, or cut apart. And then this, I cut it to the same length as the drawer side right here, that's missing. And then I made some supports with some other scrap wood that I had, and I'm just going to kind of put them right on the edges, glue them down, and then nail this guy into these. Wood glue is really strong, so I'm confident that it will totally hold up once everything dries. I wanted to get this going sooner than later so that once I'm done like painting everything and sanding and all that jazz, this will be dry and ready to be used. Okay, next up is sanding time. So I've got my Surf Prep sander, I got a 120 grit, and we're gonna do some scuff sanding. I would like to try and keep the top, but it really just depends on the gouges and things. Like there's one gouge over here, but if that's all I have to deal with, I could potentially fill that in. I'm not sure. There's some scratches over there that might be too deep. We're gonna kind of just go and see along the way. Everything is sanded, scuff sanded, and I did end up sanding the top all the way back. It was a little bit tougher than I thought it was gonna be, but it looks really good when I sanded it back. Again, there's just this one little gouge that I'll just fill, and hopefully when I do the method on the top, like a paint wash or something, it'll kind of just all blend in really nice. And then now it is time for primer. So since I went ahead and sanded this all the way down and I'm gonna prime, I need to protect it. So I'm gonna use some painter's tape and some craft paper, and we're gonna cover it up so that it doesn't get the primer on it. Maybe it worked. Let's pull it out to see if it really worked. Ah, there's so much pressure. I think it works. All right, so there are a couple of different reasons why I'm going to prime it. First one is the most obvious, and that is to prevent any bleed through, because when I was scuff sanding, there were some areas that I was sanding out some imperfections, and I just busted through the finish. And since this is a reddish tone, it could be mahogany, it could be cherry, it is a bleeder. I just know that from experience, so I don't want to risk that popping through my paint. So that's why I'm using a stain blocking primer. Another reason that I'm gonna prime is for adhesion. And then another reason that I'm gonna prime is because I can see that there are some imperfections that need to be filled in. And I like to prime in order to make those pop out a bit more at me so that I know I need to go back and fix those as needed. So I've got my RZ mask and my Kills, and we're gonna go to town spraying. All right, looks great. It's gonna dry and then we'll come back for repairs. So now that the primer's dry, brought it back inside, and I have got the Bondo glazing and spot putty. This is what I have been really liking, either this or the Dixie Mud, to just fill in any imperfections. So it's a lot easier to see when you've got that coat of white or even gray primer. It's going to just catch your eye a lot easier with any dents or dings that need to be filled in if you want a really nice finish. All right, I think that's good on repairs there. So we'll let that dry and then I'll sand it down. One thing I want to be careful of is if you put it on the primer really quick and then you like wait a little bit of time and you go back over it, it kind of scrapes off the primer. I think it's just like a reaction. It doesn't do that when it's all the way dry. But that's just something that I noticed as I was applying this, that if you kind of, I guess, let it dry for a tiny bit of time and then you go back and scrape it, it will scrape the primer off as well. So try to avoid that. All right, the wood filler is dry. So I'm gonna just take my surf prep and just smooth everything out. All right, day 2 of this project. Last night I did go ahead and do the second coat of primer off camera, so we're ready to paint just about. I'm gonna go ahead and take this top off because I need to make sure that my method is going to look good prior to starting the paint, because if it's not, then I also need to prime the top, and I don't want to do that when there's painted, the bottom is painted. So I'm gonna go ahead and rip this off. So I'm going to fill in this little gash first. So I've just got some wood filler. I'm not gonna need too much. Once this dries, we'll be able to sand it back, and then we'll be able to do a paint wash over the top here. I'm not really sure why it has this like darker ring around it. I've never had that happen with wood filler before. I don't know. But we're gonna try our paint wash. We might have to do a little bit of a heavier paint wash to kind of mask that a little bit more. But the color that I'm gonna be using is from the Up Paint line, and we got it at Michael's. And I chose Fountainhead. So with this, it's got a green tint, and you might be thinking like, what in the world, you're gonna be doing a green wash on this top? And the reason is because I think the green will help minimize the reddish tones in the wood up here and kind of cancel out each other. So we're gonna dilute some of the Up Paint for the paint wash on top, and then this is the color that's gonna be going on the bottom here as well. So with a paint wash, it's a mix of paint and water. The ratio is totally up to you. I'm gonna do a little bit heavier on the paint. I still want the wood grain to show through, but I do want to have enough to kind of mask this imperfection over here. So we're gonna start off with some paint in here. I typically don't measure, just kind of go for it. If you want an exact measurement, then you should measure with measuring cups. And you just mix to make sure that everything is together. So, and then I'm gonna grab my brush and let's apply it. Now that I've got a coat on of the diluted paint, I'm gonna just take a lint-free cloth, and really depending on how dark, deep of a wash you want, I could have grabbed this a lot sooner and started wiping back, but again, I wanted it to kind of seep in, so I'm just gonna wipe back any excess with my cloth. Go in one direction, and there's really not a lot coming off, but I'm just getting any excess that hasn't seeped down yet. So we're definitely getting some bleed through, which I knew would happen because we're painting, or we're applying the paint and wash water to the raw wood. So it's going to bleed through a bit. What I'm hoping is that after this dries and then I do another coat, that it will sort of stop bleeding through on the top coat. And then once we top coat it, it will no longer do that. I don't know if that'll work. I've never done a paint wash on like a reddish mahogany style. So again, if not, then we'll have to go back to the drawing board, prime this, and just paint it the solid color, crossing our fingers that this is going to work out. Next step though, we are ready to paint the base. So what I'm noticing already about the up paint chalk paint version is that it's a lot thinner than a lot of the chalk paints that I've used in the past. So that's a plus, just because I don't have to dilute it with water at all, mist it. I might mist it still a little bit, but I don't have to like put any water in here to make it easier to brush on. And then another thing that I'm noticing is that the color is beautiful. I really enjoyed using this brush on the top here, so I'm excited to see how it works on the actual base and actually painting full strength chalk paint. I don't know if they really thought this part out. Can't really get the brush in there. I think I'm gonna go ahead and bust out this tray that I got at Michael's as well and go ahead and dump some in here. So we have easy access with my brush. Again, this could be brushed on with the brush and then for another coat, or if you rather, you can do a roller. So this is what that tray is actually for. I'm already noticing that this is getting really great coverage. All this area was just from one dip, and it's like full coverage almost. So that's really great for paint. You want it to have as great of coverage as you can so that you could just get full coverage with less paint. All right, that is coat one. I can't believe we only used this much paint out of this jar so far, including the paint wash and the whole body. So not bad at all. It has really great coverage. We will definitely need a second coat, no doubt about that, but we're gonna let this dry and then we'll come back for coat number two. I was hoping that the barkeeper's friend was going to work in the steel wool, but it didn't. So we are gonna head outside and do some spray paint on the hardware. All right, my favorite go-to gold or brass hardware color is the Gold Leaf Metallic from Krylon. And I'll just do some quick small coats over the hardware, and we'll probably have to do a few to get full coverage, but it's better to just do like light coats and then move into and just do multiple light coats so that we're not getting pooling and puddling in the spray paint. So once that first coat dries, I'll come back and do a couple more. All right, we are ready for coat number two. But for coat number two, I decided that I'm gonna go ahead and remove the drawers, set them over here. That way I can just make sure that I am painting everywhere and that the whole piece is getting coverage. So that includes like the sides of the drawers, but then also like the inside of the dresser that sometimes when we leave the drawers in, we may miss. And we want to make sure to pay attention to those details and just paint everything that is necessary for it to get that full coverage. All right, the gold is looking really good. I've done a few different coats out here, but now I'm gonna do a clear coat just to make sure that it doesn't come off. Similar to when we're doing the paint on the pieces, we want to protect our hardware as well. So this is just a clear spray paint. It's satin sheen, so it's gonna have a little bit of a sheen, but not too much. So we're just gonna spray it on. Again, light, quick coats so nothing pools up. Next up, we are going to start to make the finishing touches. I really like how this paint is turning out. Honestly, it has like a small chalky feel, but really it went on super smooth. There's minimal brush stroke marks, which with chalk paint is a really hard to achieve minimal brush stroke marks. So I chalked that up to the paint, no pun intended. But it was super easy to apply. I did 2 coats for full coverage, and with a lighter color, sometimes you're gonna need 3, 4, even 5 coats, but this paint really only needed those 2 after I primed it. So now we are moving on to the furniture salve. And so this is a lemon scent that I picked up at Michael's. Let's see. That smells really good. Yeah, and it's not too like cleaner smelling like. I mean, I guess it almost smells like a pledge, but this is going to do a few different things for my piece here. The first thing that it's gonna do is I am going to rub some along the drawer slides with my lint-free cloth here. And this is just going to help my drawers slide really well. So I'll do it on the dresser here on the inside, on the middle hole, and on the edges where the drawer is going to drag. And then I'll also do it on those areas of the drawer that will be touching the inside. So I'm just gonna grab a little bit here on my cloth. This is a 4-ounce can, but it should be plenty for this entire piece and more. Get it salved up here. All right, and now that the insides are all salved up, we are also gonna do it to the bottoms of each drawer as we put them in. Last drawer going in. I'm also happy to report that my fix on this drawer works. And I am so proud of myself because that's the biggest fix I've ever done on a drawer. So that was impressive. I'm super glad because if I didn't know how to do that or figure that out, then this kind of would have been a trashed project unless I was able to find someone to make a whole nother side of a drawer. So it's really good to just work things out, see how you can fix these things on pieces so that you can bring them back to life. Next up, I am going to be putting the salve on the chalk painted parts, and this is going to act as our top coat and be a protective layer against scratches and things like that. We're also gonna put that on the top as the protective layer on the bra wood top as well. So the cool thing about the salve is you can apply it with a lint-free cloth, or you can apply it with the same chalk brush that we applied the paint with. So now that this is dried up, I am gonna use it to apply it on the fronts of the drawers. And then what we'll do is we'll leave it sit on there for just a little while once I get everything done and covered, and then I'll come back with a microfiber cloth and kind of buff it out so that it will achieve the best finish possible. Everything's just kind of, smoothed out and things like that. It should also kind of deepen the color just a tad bit when we're putting this on there. So this is not a wax, this is a salve. So those two are different things. Okay, now that we've done the salve on the whole body of the dresser, it's time to do the top. I'm really excited to see what this is going to look like, and I don't think that it is going to bleed like it would if it were a top coat, like a liquid top coat, because typically the liquid top coat is what makes the coloring pop out from the wood tannins and things like that. So since this isn't a liquid top coat, I think we're gonna be okay in avoiding that. And I really am liking the way that the green color toned down that redness. It's not completely green, but it has like some white tinges to it, and I just really like how it came out. And I think this will kind of richen it up a little bit to make it just a tad bit darker without being too much. Now I am going to take my lint-free microfiber cloth and just buff it in. So buffing just kind of looks like circular motions, just kind of really rubbing it into the surface here. Oh yeah, that feels really smooth and good. So next up is to add the hardware. Here is the final result. You guys, I love this color. It's Fountainhead by Up Paint, and I don't think that it could have came out any better. I am super impressed with the fact that the greenish minty color really toned down and evened out that reddish tone on the top just like I had planned. So I'm so glad that that worked out and I was able to save this top. Whenever I can save some wood, I am totally down for it, and I try my best to do that on a lot of the pieces, whether it's the top or some drawers or some legs. Wood is always a great aspect to include in your furniture. So let's talk about the up paint a little bit. I ended up using probably about 12 of the 16 ounces of the paint. And when you're brushing on, you're more likely to use less paint than if you were spraying it on. Spraying, while it does save time, it does use up a bit more paint. So keep that in mind when you're flipping furniture. And then we used less than half of the furniture salve to just butter up everything, and then also as the protective top coat. And then the chalk brush, super easy to use, and the tray was a great investment as well. In total, I think I told you earlier that I had spent $80 on all of the materials, but I really only used like less than $60 worth of the materials because I'll still be able to get some more projects out of each of these things. And then the brush and the tray, just a little bit of an investment. So we're all in, let's just say $120 with the piece and the materials. So this will be going into our storefront. I'm excited to continue getting those pieces done so that we can actually have furniture to sell in the storefront. And if you are interested in attending our grand opening, that is on November 4th. There is a link down below in the description for that event page over on Furniture Flipping Teachers Facebook page. Last thing I want to say about the paint is that it was very good quality paint. It has very good coverage. In Michael's, I was like, is this like this recycled paint thing? Like, is this gonna work? Is it going to be good? Is it gonna hold up? Is it gonna have good coverage? And I can honestly check all of those boxes and say, yes, I checked all the boxes. It's great coverage, it's good quality, it doesn't scratch off. Honestly, this is the most self-leveling, thinnest chalk style paint that I have used. And so although it is a chalk paint and I brushed it on, there are virtually no brush stroke marks because it really evened out. So if you don't want to wait for paint to come by ordering it online, check out your local Michael's, see if they've got the up paint in stock. They've got the 5 colors, and then of course all of the necessities for applying that paint, whether you want to use a roller or a brush, and then they've even got that top coat covered for you as well. That's all I've got for you today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I would love to know your thoughts about this piece down below in the comments, and we'll see you next Thursday. See you on the flip side.